So back late in the 2018, three friends founded a company called PayHawk, and to support small and medium enterprises, to manage expenses, to control frauds, and so many things. And not much more than 2 years later, they raised more than $200 million at a valuation of $1 billion. So it became a unicorn. So we are lucky enough to have Konstantin, one of the three founders and the CFO of PayHawk. And the first question is quite obvious. I mean, how does it feel to go from zero to a unicorn in a couple of years?
Wow, thanks, Juan. Thanks for the great introduction. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Kudos to the organization team. It's a great event. It's the first time of me being here in South Summit, but I'm definitely coming next year as well. The short answer to your question is, it feels great.
Yeah, and the long answer, because I mean, we are anxious, to go about how do you feel about creating something really small and then...
It's amazing. I mean, the journey is amazing. It was filled with lots of ups and downs, so it's really a roller coaster journey. You're tackling a lot of different issues, a lot of different obstacles that you couldn't even imagine on day one. But it's amazing, the entire process of just being a bunch of people in a room with an idea, then scaling this idea, hiring more enthusiasts that can help you, to getting where we are today. Today we have offices spread across the European Union, the UK, and the US in 8 different locations. We have people in those offices strongly believing in PayHawk. We have a lot of customers, and it's really been an amazing journey. Being actually the first unicorn coming from Bulgaria is great, but it also comes, I think, with a lot of responsibilities, because you're sort of like this role model to the people that are growing up, the young entrepreneurs, the future success stories of the region. So we don't take it lightly. We really want to be very supportive and really want to give back to the ecosystem and the community that helped us be what we are today. And we really spent a lot of time talking to young people, encouraging young entrepreneurs, being engaged in multiple different initiatives. And the idea is really to share the experience that we have gathered, especially the mistakes that we have done, and the do's and the don'ts, so that hopefully one day we'll see many more unicorns coming out of our region.
So you're the founder and the CFO, and that means that you're in charge of the tough job, no? Right?
Yeah, especially nowadays, it seems like...
And yet they allow you to travel and to enjoy South Summit and so on. That's good. But nobody like a CFO understands all the challenges that growing so fast involves. Can you share with us some insights? I mean, how do you manage going from zero to 1 billion from the financial point of view?
Yeah, well, the number one thing is I don't get a lot of sleep. Which is probably kind of expected. Every once in a while I get the chance to participate in something like this, and I use it more as a breather, like to really get out, meet with real people, a bit distract myself from the business so that I can recharge and I can go back to the office and do what I do. But it's not easy. I mean, scaling up, it's not easy. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It really takes a lot of time, a lot of efforts. I think my wife deserves a lot of admiration for putting up with me and, keeping me in the house after so many late nights in the office and travel and really a lot of stressful situations. But I don't think there is a clear recipe. I think you just need to be very dedicated in what you do. You need to be very agile, very flexible into how you approach things. I think companies at different stage have very different problems. So for me, as a finance and operation professional, I need to be very aware of where the company is heading, especially with us. Our company is changing every 6 to 9 months. It's a totally different company. So whatever you do today is going to have an implication 6 to 9 months from now. And if you don't do your job good today, then in 6 to 9 months, you're going to be in big trouble. So you really need to be well aware of, I would say, and be a good business partner, really understand the business, understand where it's going, understand what's going to happen, so that you can build a very solid foundation and scale from that foundation. In the early days, in the early stages of the companies, it used to be more like the Wild West, like all guns blazing, people doing a lot of different things, testing very different ideas. As you scale up, you start to professionalize a bit, so you start to become a bit more focused on processes. Like I think initially when you're like up to 20, 50 people, you know everybody pretty well, you know how everything is moving, you're engaged in pretty much everything. Once you hit like 50 people and more, things start to change a bit because now you're not involved in all the conversations. So you need to start thinking about, okay, what processes do I need to put in place so that we can support the next stage of the company? And then as you scale up, you start to build on top of the foundations that you lay. So it's really a never-ending process. I've had the luxury to work in a very small startup, then being part of a scale-up. In another company I worked with, we went through, again, a very fast growth. We got to a stage where we were 800 people. We got acquired by a public company, so I ended up working for a public company as well. I think the one thing that is still missing is going public with a company, but hopefully this is going to happen with PayHawk someday.
Wow. And it is not just that you grew in revenues, but you completely evolved your product from focusing on small and medium enterprises to now big corporations. I mean, how do you manage that, you know, without stop doing your job every day, you know, and completely changing everything?
Yeah, for us it was a natural expansion. So we started initially with serving the smaller companies in the SME segment and naturally started growing towards the higher end of that SME segment. And the reason for this is simply because when you start early on, you want to iterate as fast as possible and you want to shorten the sales cycle. So you want to be really focused on the customers that you can easily win and you can easily get feedback so that you can build your product, you can build your value proposition, you can expand it to different markets. And once you do that, it comes as a natural expansion. We have been building B2B software for all of our lives, so we're pretty experienced into how we can build a good enterprise software or a good enterprise solution. And it was a natural extension to what we started with. Our customer base grew a bit more in terms of the requirements they had for us. So we're now into a stage where we are very uniquely positioned to serve customers in the EU, in the UK, and in the US. And this comes with a lot of complexities, especially if you are a company who has different offices or different companies spread out across those geographies. You want to have like a centralized solution that can help you really, in our case, manage your spend, grow with you when you need to open new offices or new locations or new processes, expand on your governance and spending rules, controls. You might start with something very simplistic, but then you might complicate it and you might even come to a stage where you're looking for a very customized solution. And this is something that we naturally picked up and we built in our product. Also adding different product offerings like both debit and credit product for our customers. A lot of our customers, once they hit a certain stage, they don't want to lock funds on our wallet, so they're really interested into getting a credit solution instead. And this has become a natural expansion for us.
So, I mean, working in the fintech space is wonderful, exciting, but it means that when you create a company in this vertical, it means that you face all the challenges that starting up involves and a complexity in regulation. And I mean, what advice, what insights can you share with us?
Yeah, it's a tough market. And the problem is that it's getting even tougher. So complexity is not getting, things are not getting simplistic, they're getting even more complex. I think when we started initially, we didn't have a good understanding on how the payment industry works and how the payment industry has organized in terms of value chain. And that turned out to be a very complex ecosystem. So it took a lot of effort, a lot of talks with different people, a lot of really time dedicated into understanding this complex ecosystem. And then when you put on top of this an additional layer that comes with the regulatory requirements, it becomes very complex. For us, what has worked pretty well is really understanding your dependencies. So very early on, we decided that the fastest way to go to market is to be with a partner. So we had a lot of partners that we worked with. Unfortunately, those partners did a good job up until a certain point, and then they start to fail. So you need to be well aware of the dependencies you have in the early stage. What can get you the fastest way to the market is okay, like getting super fast to the market, but you need to understand that, especially in a regulatory environment, this is not scalable from some point onwards, and you need to start thinking early on, okay, I can get fast to market, but as a next step, I probably need to do something else. And right now, what we are doing, for example, is we're getting our own e-money licenses, so we're building a lot of the core services in-house that we previously didn't have either the capacity or the resources to do. But now we are confident enough that we can tackle this challenge as well. And we are building everything in-house, so we don't rely on any external parties, and we want to eliminate any dependencies.
And you started the company in Bulgaria, which is a beautiful country, but I would say a small one. Okay, so I guess that since the very beginning you had in mind that Bulgaria was not your market, that you had to move somewhere else. What were the decisions you had to take regarding the expansion to other countries?
Yeah, so me and the other two co-founders, we are based in Bulgaria. And Bulgaria, as you said, is a small country, a small market. So we wanted to build something big from day one. And building something big with a small market means you need to go international from day one. We thought that this was going to be a huge disadvantage for us, that we didn't have a good, or not a good, but let's say a big local market. But it turned out to be the best thing that could happen to us, because from day one, we were focused on going international. We currently have customers from all countries within the European Union, customers in the UK and customers in the US. And even within the first months when we started the companies, we had a lot of customers, I think like probably 16 or 20 different countries from the EU. We had customers in those countries. And we appreciate it now because looking at some of our competitors that were coming from very big local markets, initially they had the luxury of building a product for that big market and really excelling and gaining a lot of market share in their local market. But once they hit a stage where they want to go international, and this is usually the moment where they start hitting some obstacles because their product is not fit for other markets. They need to explore the market, they need to tweak their product, so they need to do a lot of things if they want to be successful outside of their local market. And for us, this was not an issue because we started international from day one.
That's good, and think big since the very beginning. And within the fintech universe, AP Hawk is in the category of CFO stack. What other problems to be addressed you may share with the audience? I mean, what business opportunities they may find by understanding what problems companies are facing and that can be addressed.
I think this is not something that's typical only for the CFO tech stack, but in general, I think we're going through a transition period. It used to be a lot of silos between the different organizations in the company, like everybody is using their own tech stack. Like marketing folks have a solution, sales folks have a different solution, finance folks usually have like totally different tools. And I think we're getting into a stage where you need to have more integration between all the different tech solutions that you have. So I would see in the future a lot of companies moving from, let's say, the CFO tech vertical into other adjacent verticals, and really providing a more holistic solution. And we actually see this even today. I think one of the things that's really driving this change is the new generation of people that are entering, the finance field, the marketing field, the sales field, or any other profession that are actually digital first. So they want something that works, that is digital, that is like real time, very hands-on, very easy to use, and something that is connected to all the different stakeholders within the company, because we live in a world where you need to make decisions very fast. Like you no longer have the luxury of spending a lot of time gathering data, crunching numbers. You need to be very fast into just with a few clicks, seeing the high-level story, drilling down into the details, seeing what works and what doesn't work, and then reiterate.
Is artificial intelligence, the new generation of generative AI, going to change your product in the future?
Yes, I think so. There is a lot of
And
hype.
how? If you can share it with us.
Yeah, there is a lot of hype around AI. I mean, obviously, now if you're into AI, money seems to be pouring from there. VCs are super excited about AI. It seems to be very hyped up space. I think it's not gonna, it is going to change everything we do and everything we work on, even as individuals, our personal lives, but it's not gonna happen over time, so it's gonna take some time for this change. There are a lot of bets on the AI industry. We're gonna see what's gonna work and what's not going to work. For us specifically, we are exploring a bunch of ideas related to AI. Hopefully we might share some more details soon, but we're currently incubating this project. I think one of the areas in general that AI, for me personally, is going to be very useful is really the analysis of data. So gathering all the data, using AI to quickly see, test hypotheses, see what's going well, what's not going well, recalibrate your assumptions, really make a lot of fast iterations on your business model. And I think AI is going to have essentially that capacity to help people really drill down into the details without spending too much time on data and crunching numbers. It's really going to be more focused on the value-added activities like, hey, what can we do based on this data to grow our business, to become even more efficient, to have better gross profit margin, or whatever, to expand into new regions.
Okay. We have almost 2 more minutes. So tell me pretty quick, what are, in these 3 years' time you have been working on PayHawk, what was your biggest mistake and your best decision?
There were so many mistakes.
I know.
I think probably the
big
best
one, a big one. You can
probably
share with
the
us.
best decision is yet to come. The biggest mistake, I think, is we tried a few times taking shortcuts related to either technical capabilities or working with partners. And usually those shortcuts work pretty well in the short term. In the longer term, whenever we have tried shortcutting something, it backfired and we had to roll our sleeves, spend twice the amount of time really fixing the damage from the shortcut that we took early on. So I think one of the mistakes that we encountered and one of the main learning points for us was really, okay, you need to take a shortcut, but then enter this with the clear vision that this is not going to work 3 to 6 months from now. So even if you take the shortcut now, you need to start thinking, okay, how can I essentially move away from that shortcut and build the real thing in the fastest way.
And the best decision?
The best decision, I don't know. It's hard to pick one. I think
after creating the company.
I think it's just the journey itself. It's really going into this crazy journey, where you create something from scratch. You see how it grows. You see how initially we start with just a bunch of people, like very enthusiastic people, how those people grow over time. You create processes, everything from scratch, and you see how it grows. It's just amazing. I think it's, for me, on a personal note, building a startup and being part of the PayHawk journey is the best decision I've ever made.
Thank you very much, Konstantin. Feel part of the community and please join us in future editions of South Summit. Please, a big hand to Konstantin.